I want to transition into the part of my show called Tenants Make Me Laugh.
All right.
And I'm wondering if you have any stories, sounds like you do, of times when, you've experienced something with a tenant, a vendor, or a property owner where it's like, this only happens in property management. So what comes to mind in that?
Yeah, and I was a little worried about this question. I'm not gonna lie. I'd heard some of your previous podcasts on it, and for me, just based on who I am and how we're trying to run it, right? If you got me a couple beers in a bar, right, I might start throwing out some stories, but as a general thing, I don't enjoy it. Just like we don't use the word tenant in our company, right? It's resident. It's very important to me that we're not talking about them, but to them, if that makes sense. So I actually, all my peers are so into those stories, and I don't like them. I've had stuff that, you start making jokes because you have to stay not crazy sometimes about the most macabre things, right? We've had everything, right? You get shootings, you get robberies. I had a building just flood the other day. It was one of my buildings, right? It's like, well, there went 30,000, and if you can't laugh at all of it, right, you'll go crazy. So I get the stories, and I've had tenants that do crazy things, but I look at it now, I'm like, yeah, that's because they actually have a mental disability, and I struggle to make fun of it, if that makes sense. And I don't mean to sound too, and that's what people accuse me of. It's like I don't. It's just who I am. I don't want my employees thinking that way. I don't want me thinking that way. It's easy to do because, yeah, crazy things happen. I'm more better at delivering on my own mistakes, right? I've made mistakes due to trusting residents or doing the things that have cost me $20,000. I've lost a duplex over it to the city. Like I delivered a speech on it. They hated me all because I let a drunk move in and the crazy things she did, right? But I can make stories about her, but the reality is I felt for her. Now I know as a professional I can't do that, right? That was in the early days, right? My own stuff and all that. But those things affect me differently, where I less make fun of it and how can we provide housing for everyone when some people just do the craziest stuff. And I have a fiduciary duty to my owners to not let crazy stuff happen, right? I look at it as a problem, and I know I wish I was actually trying to think of a story that would be funny traveling here, and I'm sure I have some, but right now with what I strongly believe that's sort of against my peers in this, it's just hard for me to do. And I think that's the trick. I feel too much that we're pitting owners against us, against residents, against government. And then we're mad that the government does things. And I'm like, well, they're trying to solve a problem. You either be at the table or don't get mad at what they do. And I look at forums and I see people just saying they must be on meth and all that. And they're just saying all these things. And I'm like, maybe they are, right? But let's not just go there, right? And to me, I apologize for the non-funny response to what is lighthearted. And in the office, yeah, do we say things? Of course, right? We keep it light. But I struggle with that perception of, that they're the butt of our jokes. And most of our vendors, we have internal maintenance staff, so I'd be making fun of my brothers. I would love to do that, but I probably shouldn't say it.
Well, I really appreciate that answer, even though it doesn't answer the question.
I know. I feel I'm avoiding everything you're saying, which wasn't my goal coming. So, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And the intention of asking the question is, I think you appreciate it, is not to really make fun of them, but just to kind of highlight the fact that there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in the business, and you have to have a combination of some thick skin and a willingness to laugh even at yourself.
For sure.
So, maybe I need to work on the question a little bit.
Oh, no, and I get it, because we still at the office, every time something truly new happens, right, because it lessens every year, right, your first 5 years, you're like, oh my, that really just happened, right? And every year, now when it happens, it's like an event. It's like, now that I've never seen before, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I could top of the tongue come up with one of those, but it does happen. But now it's like, you hang out with peers and you've heard so many stories. I'm amazed still at 12 years in, all of this, all that there's still a story. I'm like, I've never heard of that happening, right? And it does. And that is So to take it back, yeah, that's part of the magic of this. I'm a guy who embraces change, so and constant movement and things like that. So I love the fact that something weird happens every day, and I'm pretty good at don't take it personally, right? If you take things personally, you will burn out real fast.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Want to hear more on this topic? Click the link below for the full episode of Maximizing Your Property Value.